consider just for a moment that everything has led to this. Everything. The video you just saw, where you parked, what you did today, all of the influences on this particular slide here. Everything has led to this. What you did, what you said, what you listened to, who you saw, what you ate, where you slept, who you slept with. Everything has led to this. The food, the books, the tapes, the videos, the binges of watching television. Everything has led to this. Why is this important? Why should we care? The pandemic. This nasty little assassin, COVID, struck, right? What happened in pandemic? Traditional timelines of thought changed. The way we think about ourselves, the way we think about our future, everything has changed. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, the world put a mask on. Our DNA sequence, the double helix that you see there, affected everything, mind, emotion, every element of our lives. So why is that important? If we look at going back to epigenetics, what is epigenetics? Epigenetics, think of epigenetics as the software for our genomes. Everybody has their own unique DNA, right? I'm different than him. I'm different than you. All the cells in my body have the same DNA sequence. I inherited that from mom and dad. That won't change, but it might, but we'll come back to that later. But my genetic makeup does not change, but what the epigenetic layer is. Epigenetics, epi, Latin word for over or around, under. I didn't study Latin, but I know that word now. Epigenetics is the software that manages our genetic process. It does all the work. It's the sentinel, it's the watchman, it's the workman. It's, I got a guy. Epigenetics is that guy. And what it does is it turns on and off the genes in our body that creates us. From the time of conception, epigenetics is working to report in what you need to become you. It tells your cells in your chromosome, I need a leg cell, I need a lip cell, I need an ankle cell, I need a brain cell, I need a neuron. It is the software that runs and creates who we are. And then we were born, and we're exposed to the world. And epigenetics also has a neuroplasticity to it. It is flexible, it is changeable. It can mold who we are. But it also can change on a dime, and it helps regulate our particular world. So when we're born, nature and nurture comes into play. What the epigenetics does is it oversees everything that we do. Why is this important? Nice biology lesson, Russ, thanks a lot. I thought just a positive attitude would do it. No. It doesn't hurt, by the way, but there's more to it. Because the epigenetics turn on and off markers in your genes when there's a problem, if they sense disease. If they deal with some of the things that you and I see on this slide back here, toxins, pollutants, bad food, poisons, poison relationships, poison jobs, poison careers, poison attitudes. It impacts and can change what is going on in our lives. It turns those markers on and off. It's just not a matter of if I think positive things will change. No, there's more to it than just thinking a thought. It is changing our physiology. The pandemic strikes. What happens? You've heard the phrase, my life flashed before my very eyes. We've heard that before. Car accidents, notice of cancer, falling out of a tree, plane accidents, you name it. Life flashed before my very eyes. We don't have time to really process what that means at the time, but what the pandemic has done in our mind is the pandemic has been that my life flashed before my very eyes. And as a result, what has happened is we've had 2 years to think about this. We've been in the plane crash, we've been in the car crash for 2 years as our life keeps flashing before our very eyes. And what it has given us is given us a different perspective. At least that's what the research says. At least that's what therapists say. At least what behavioral scientists are saying. We are looking at the world differently because the pandemic created death and destruction. COVID was the assassin. It was the murderer. It didn't care who the host was. It was trying to kill us, trying to kill our species, destroy us. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. COVID underestimated the human condition. Our Creator wasn't that dumb not to put in fail-safe systems for us going forward. So all of the negativity of the pandemic and COVID, it embedded itself in our DNA. It's changing our epigenetics. It's changing how we feel, right? Anxiety, depression, mental illness, suicide, violence. Have I depressed you enough? There's just a lot of shit going on in our lives right now, and we're concerned about that. And that's been going on for 2 years. People dying with no one there because their husbands or wives or loved ones cannot be there. They're in hospital beds, dying of loneliness, surrounded by pumps and masks and people in spacesuits, and parents that can't see their children being born because the risk of disease is there. It's tragic. It makes me sad. It made me sad. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. I take a deep breath, and there's another perspective. And now that the pandemic is subsiding, now we see a different light. Now we see that while life flashed before our very eyes, the pandemic has also allowed us a glimpse into the future that we didn't see. It has made us time travelers. We have looked through the keyhole of our life, and what have we done? We look at life differently. Because the pandemic insisted we look at life differently. And now, if we're willing to look deeper, what's really important in life? What's important? How much money do I need? How many material possessions do I need? What's important to my family? What's important in my career? What legacy do I want to have? Am I doing things to keep me busy? Am I confusing activity with accomplishment? Am I majoring in minors? Am I doing something that's worthwhile, that's going to really impact who I am? Am I passionate about something enough to do it all the time? That's what we keep asking ourselves. And if we bury our head in the sand and say, well, let's just go back to the old world. Wait, it wasn't that nice. No, there was a lot of stuff going on. But we have been given a chance with COVID and pandemic that societies haven't had for 100 years since the last one in the 1918 or whenever that was. We haven't had this kind of overarching world scenario that's affected everybody on the planet. We are in this invisible schoolhouse, as it were. This is the name of this talk. We are the teachers and the students and the mentors. We're the janitors. We work in the cafeteria. We fix the roofs. We drive the bus. It is a powerful place, this invisible schoolhouse. So we think about that. The pandemic has given us a total look into our new world at work. Now this is all pretty stressful, isn't it? There's some excitement there, but it's pretty stressful. Bummer, Russ. No, we have a chance to be born again, to see the world in a very different light. And so let's take a break for a minute and let's go to the beach. Let's go to the beach. Waves. I picture my two beautiful granddaughters sitting at the beach playing in the waves. Mom and dads are sitting close to them. They're playing with their pails and buckets. The waves are coming in. They're not too dangerous. They're crashing in and so forth. But think about in the 5 minutes that they are playing in these waves, their epigenetics are teaching them things and exposing them to things that they will use for the rest of their lives. They're not to the point where we are. They can't appreciate some of the things that we've gone through. They'll hear about it in the history books. But what they're experiencing now by playing in the sand is they're exposed to learning the basic concepts of chemistry, salinity, geography, astrology. They see the sky, the moon, the clouds. They get hit by the waves. They're understanding what force and velocity is. They're understanding what basic physics is. They're not going to know this right now, but they're going to use these learning structures when they go to school and high school and college and further. They're going to pass on those ideas. Their epigenetics is anchoring those memories in them so that they can retrieve those memories of being on the beach when they're stressed. It's a happy place to go. They're learning about their own bodies. They're learning about it's getting cold outside. It's time to go in. They're learning about wind and temperature changes, subtle changes. They're learning that they can feel in a dangerous situation and the wave knocks them over and the parents are over here laughing. And the young child might look over and say, don't you realize how dangerous it is right here? I mean, I could be washed out to sea. You guys ought to be more concerned with us. I mean, come on. And the parents go, no, you're fine, you're fine. And the child says, I guess it must be fine because otherwise my parents, they love me. They wouldn't want to just wash me out to sea. I guess it's okay to play and risk. We have to let the kids learn. It does take a village. It is part of a community. So we think about that juxtaposed to the pressure that we have in our world today. So as we go forward, our epigenetics is changing. We can change for our future. We can create inheritable genes for our friends, our family, our loved ones, for future generations. We don't know how long an epigenetic marker will last. It may fade after 2 or 3 generations. But we know that they have been lasting for at least 2 generations. We have a bigger impact than we thought on our future generations. Consider for a moment that everything has led to this. Everything has led to this. Thank you very much.